Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast that revolves around the evolving meta, the Metapod. The viewers and listeners will also note that, like, usually it's Jake that gives you that intro, but joining me today on the Metapod is Robin Schultz. Did I say that correctly? Probably not, but
Yeah, basically.
close enough, right? How would you pronounce it?
Robin Schulz.
Okay, okay. So Robin is joining us. I'll let Robin intro himself a little bit more in depth in a minute, but briefly speaking, Robin is one of the people behind Limitless, which we'll go in depth into for this episode. Just super excited to have Robin joining us today. So I've worked with Robin very briefly in the past in a different world in the Digimon space. I was working with Robin, but yeah, super excited to have you on, Robin.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
So before we jump into that, we're going to cover off one piece of news. And that news is an announcement that happened naturally right after we finished recording the last episode, which is Temporal Forces is the next standard. I say standard, I guess the next standard set is the shiny set that we're getting in January, but the next normal set, non-special set, um, in the Western world, that's going to be releasing in March. The official release date will be March 22nd. And that probably, there's a lot of speculation about when or if rotation will happen at the beginning of the year. My gut says that Pokemon seems to be pretty like standardized now in their way of set releases happening exactly 2 weeks before an IC. So that's sort of a thing that I don't know how long they've been doing that, Robin. You can tell us like if that's something they've just been doing for a decade now or more, but it feels pretty common now.
Yeah, I think the set releases were not always coordinated like that. We've definitely had tournaments where they're I don't know, 1 or 2 weeks before a new set becomes legal, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. But yeah, this season it seems to be intentional for sure that DICs are on the dates of new sets,
Yeah.
which is really cool because
Yeah.
that's of course much more exciting than any other way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's a great opportunity for them. Like when you have a new set release, you get to showcase all the new decks and cards and it's like this, it's a bit of a Wild West format as well, because like, what could be good, what could be bad, who knows? So it actually makes for very exciting viewing from my perspective at an IC. So
Yeah,
I
to
do
play it's
appreciate,
also much more exciting
yeah.
and more fun.
So, but yeah, like, so March 22nd is the set release. There is speculation that that will also be the time that the standard format rotates. So, for those of you who don't know what rotation is for whatever reason, the little letters at the bottom of your card, right now we are on I believe it's E block and on. And the next format rotation will probably rotate out E block. So that'll be basically all of, Mew VMAX and all of Fusion Strike stuff will be gone. Gardevoir will take a pretty big hit. I was like looking through my Gardevoir deck and I'm like, oh, level ball. Oh, fog crystal. No, this is terrible. This is going to be very difficult. So, but we don't know for
Otherwise,
sure.
actually probably still be good, I guess. But
Well,
it's
and
just
and
crazy
they'll
ability.
Oh yeah, I mean, they will also almost certainly, I imagine that this set, if it is part of a rotation, they'll have a new ball search card or a new Pokemon search card, I should say. Typically, when they take something away, they at least give us something as a replacement. So if you're taking away Frog Crystal and Level Ball, somebody mentioned to me, I was like, what would they reprint? And I'm like, I don't think Quick Ball makes sense right now because Nest Ball is legal. But somebody mentioned Pokemon Communication, and I don't hate that. I think that's a really interesting because it's been a few years since that's been rotated. So if they were going to reprint any card, but Robin, do you have any random predictions for
Hmm.
a
Not sure.
potential reprint?
Like for Crystal, I guess it's just doesn't need a replacement because it's just
No.
psychic type card. It's just every like just the types randomly get like support cards and then they rotate and, and that's it. Level ball is also like kind of like not really a staple, but also kind of is, especially like with more evolutions being played. So yeah, the placement for that would be pretty nice, but not sure what they really would go for. But I think as long as we have Ultra Ball and S Ball, decks are mostly fine. It's not like when like Quick Ball rotated and we had like nothing to search basic Pokemon.
Yeah, that was
Um,
terrible. It was very difficult.
and I guess we still have like Artisan to search basics, and like, the decks like something like Gardevoir also will not really need as much draw anymore because you don't have the Shiny Arcana, I guess. So
It's
you
true.
just get out Gardevoir EX and then attack with like your basic Pokemon like Drifloon or something or the
Yeah,
Screamtail.
yeah. Just throw in a couple of extra Scream Tail and call it a day, and
Yeah.
hope your opponent doesn't play Manaphy. Uh, Actually, I wonder, does Manaphy rotate? I have no idea. I can't remember if that's an E block card or an F block.
I was in Brilliant Star, so
I
it
think
should
it's F
stay.
block then. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only piece of news today. Is March 22nd will be the next main set in the standard format. So, but moving on
Yeah.
now.
But also
Oh,
that
was it?
means that the current format will be very long. It's
Yes.
like so until EOIC, that's like I don't know, it's like like more than 5 regionals or 6, 7. It's a lot of tournaments still in this format. So
Yeah. It's
which
going
is
to
alright.
get
I think
very stale. It's going to get very stale. I think by February, probably.
probably currently I think the format isn't bad. Um, Pretty fun to play, but it's weird that it's so long. I think usually you would have a new set in like yeah, definitely by March playable and or February, and having to wait until April is kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, I don't know how many new cards we're getting in the Shiny Treasure set, whatever the Shiny set, Paldean Fates, I think is it's called. Um, there'll be some new cards, but usually those specialty sets will only come with, I don't know, a handful, like 40 or so, 50 cards maybe that are like net new, and only so many of those are actually playable.
I think it's just gonna be the stadium for Gardevoir, and
Mm.
I don't know, maybe there's something else, but I think it's mostly just the new Wonderful Gardevoir deck, and that's probably it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be a very long format. So, don't burn yourselves out too much playing too quickly in this format. I agree with you. I think it's a really good format though because you can kind of go to any tournament and I don't know, there's probably like five, six, seven decks that you could choose, and all of those could potentially win, just depending on what's around you, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that's a lot of decks.
yeah,
Probably
yeah,
like at least 6 decks that could realistically win the tournament. Probably like 10 even.
yeah. So it's a good time to have a long format, I guess, compared to like if you were stuck in like a two deck format, and then it was like, well, okay, we're stuck in this for 5 months.
Yeah, probably like last year when we had Lugia for like 5 months. Or was it? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, pretty rough, pretty rough. But yeah, but after that piece of news, we'll get to the main event, so to speak, which is just talking about you, Robin, talking about Limitless as well. So I will pass the mic, so to speak, over to you. Just give the folks an introduction as to who you are, a little bit of history about yourself for folks who maybe haven't heard of you before.
Yeah, so I'm a player from Germany. I've been playing since 2009. Um, so like almost 15 years now. Kind of crazy. Um, but yeah, I've been playing like on and off since then, and have been pretty successful as well in like the like 5 4 year like pre-COVID
Hmm.
basically when I won Worlds in 2018 and then LAIC in 2019. Um, and yeah, since then and like with COVID, and I haven't really played that much, but actually in like this format I've started like playing more again, and played in the regionals last weekend and did well there as well. So slowly getting back into it now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you did win the regional at Liverpool in 2022. I have your results pulled up on Limitless. So,
Yet,
and then you also, yeah, as you said, you got top four at Gdansk last like a week or two ago now, playing Charizard EX. So it was really cool seeing that. And yeah, like you said, like just getting back into it, certainly playing a little. I don't know if playing less, but I think for a lot of people, as you get more invested in other parts of your career, sometimes there's either like less time for Pokemon or you're doing other things Pokemon related. So
yes, so back in there was also like I think in like 2016 or like 17, I started the Limitless website, which back then was like just a little hobby project. I just yeah, I was just kind of missing something like that as just a player myself. So like a way to find deck lists and tournament results. So um, yeah, created that website. And then over the years, it just got bigger, and I put more time into it. And yeah, by now it's it's not really like a full-time job, but it's basically my job by now. So that's really cool.
yeah, yeah. So Limitless, for those of you, if you don't know what Limitless is, I would urge, that's amazing. I don't know how you are listening to this podcast and somehow don't know what Limitless is, but if you haven't, go to Limitless, either limitlesstcg.com or play.limitless.com. There are two different sites that we'll talk about in a bit, but yeah, Limitless, it's an amazing resource, to Robin's point, for deck lists. So any major tournament, regional, international, whatever, special event, all of the, usually I think top eight is what you cover off of like proper deck lists and things like that. But if you want to go
Yeah,
see those oh yeah, go ahead.
it's like your top 8 immediately after the tournament, and then once Arcanine publishes all the deck lists from day 2, which usually it's like day after the tournament, sometimes takes a little longer. But then I also import all of these deck lists. So eventually we have like all the public deck lists on there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible resource. I remember when I got into the game, this was in 2019 when I started playing. So after Limitless was created, but even then, there was a lot of times where people were like, especially for smaller events or whatever, like would just post their stuff on Verbank, right? And they'd be like, "Oh, okay, here's my deck list," or they post it on Twitter, and it's not a bad resource, but the problem with that is it's all very decentralized. So unless you're following somebody or you're on Verbank, which is a Facebook group, it'd be very hard to search people's deck lists. It would be very hard to like see what the top players might be playing. So um, yeah, I guess yeah. Tell me a little bit about Limitless, just the non-play Limitless version, just the tournament thing. So you you started it in 2017, you said?
Um, yeah. I think I started working it like late 2016, and then early 2017 it launched, if I remember correctly. Um, like I said, back then, yeah, like nowadays we have a lot of sites where you can just look up tournament results pretty much right after the tournament, and you can find deck lists pretty easily, like even outside of Limitless. But back then, it basically you just had one Facebook group, and if you were not part of that Facebook group, you had no idea what players even won tournaments, because we also didn't really have streams. Some tournaments had streams, but not every tournament. So you could just wake up the day after regional, and you didn't even know who even won the tournament or what decks did well. And unless you were very connected in the community and knew where to look. So that was the inspiration for creating the Limitless site, just a place where it would be just much easier to just see what happened at that regional that happened that weekend. So yeah, that was the inspiration for it, and yeah, then I created that site, and yeah, it was basically just going to those Facebook groups and then like asking around what decks did these players play, or like looking through the posts and seeing like looking at the decklist pictures, then maybe typing them out and putting them on the site. Mm. So yeah, back then it was like just a lot of manual work, and nowadays, of course, it's much easier with just access to Arcanine, where we have uh, the lists being published officially, which is yeah, which is just awesome. And yeah, a lot has changed since then, thankfully. But yeah, still running the site and still doing good with that. So yeah, really happy that it's still helpful to people up to this day.
Yeah. And I would just so how far back does the archive of deck lists and tournament results go? I know obviously you started in 2017, so from then forward, probably it's pretty full. But have you done a lot of work to like recover deck lists and results from like the past?
So regionals, 2017, that was the first season where we had like the new structure of regionals with the cash prizes and the internationals. So I have all the regionals starting from that season on there, but currently don't have the ones before. In Europe, we didn't really have. In Europe, we just had one big tournament, the European Challenge Cup, before that, and then nationals. Um, but other than that, our regionals from back then were more like almost big league cups, what you would
Hmm.
like these days. I was thinking of maybe putting like old American regionals on there, but didn't really get to that. But stuff like Worlds and Nationals, I did put some like old data on there as well. Um, but also just starting with 2011 because that's where my card database starts basically. So before
Hmm.
that, it's kind of complicated to just add even older results. But we have like other websites like PTCG Legends or which archive all the even older stuff. So I don't really feel the need to also do that because there's already really good place to find those results. So it's not like a high priority for me.
Yeah. Uh, in terms of like other things that Limitless does, though, I know there's a lot of other tools that you know have built into the site, right? It started with tournament results, but it branched out to a lot of the other tools. I think the ones that I've probably used the most are the proxy printer. Love that tool. Where actually, I'll let you explain it, Robin. What is the proxy printer, and why should people look into that?
Uh, it's like the proxy printer, like other tools, is just like collections of things that I found useful myself as a player, and also just I like coding and like doing stuff like that. So it's just really nice to be able to connect playing like this hobby of playing Pokemon with coding to actually create useful stuff because it's not actually that easy to find projects that make sense. Otherwise, if you don't happen to have like a hobby like this, and yeah, back then you tested a lot with proxy decks, where you just like print out the cards and then play with that. Um, I tested a lot with my brother, and yeah, of course, we just like tested with proxy decks instead of doing it online, and it was kind of inconvenient to create those proxies because you had to like I don't know Word document, paste those images in or something, and yeah, that's then why I made this tool where you just type in the name and then it adds it to the print sheet immediately and just makes it easier. And yeah, so basically it's just a thing that was really useful for myself. Nowadays I don't really use it anymore. I just play online now, but um, I guess there's probably still people who use it. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that I like physical cards. I did play online briefly, but for me, like playing with people in person is like my whole reason that I play the game. So so there are many times when I'm like, oh, I need this couple of cards, and sometimes instead of just turning a card backwards and saying it's that card, I'm like, I'd like, if I have too many cards that I need to proxy, I definitely still use the proxy printer myself. So, but yeah, like there's a lot of other tools on Limitless that y'all have built out. Um, but outside of that, I think the last thing that I want to talk about for like Limitless TCG like that side of things is both the team. So there is a Limitless team that I know, Rob, and I believe you're still a part of. I would assume, but I could be wrong. And also Limitless as a streaming organization, because I know for a while there you were managing streams for certain regionals. So do you want to, if you feel comfortable talking about that, like give folks some
Yeah,
background?
sure. The Limitless team is the origin of the name Limitless TCG. It's was all the other original members are actually not in, not there anymore. Um, but they mostly stopped playing. But yeah, that's back then it's like a few friends who yeah, were testing together, of course, going to tournaments, and then back then it was like there was a time when everyone just like created those teams and looked for sponsors. That still exists today, but like back in 2000, I think it was like 15, early 16, it was like pretty big. And yeah, so we were looking for a name, and this just kind of happened to be Limitless TCG. Um, and then like a year later or so, when I started the website, just I don't know, makes sense to combine it and just like use the same name, and then because we would also like post our own list usually on our Facebook page and things like that. It's just so happened that like the website and the team aren't really connected, but we're the same group of people, so it just yeah, use
Yeah,
the name Limitless and um yeah, and of course you can't just like rename a website afterwards, so it just like stayed that way until today.
yeah, no, that's fair. But in terms of the streaming part, though, I think that is for me, one of the very interesting aspects. It's like, yes, you have a card database, yes, you have a team of players, but as a person who has streamed myself, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Like Limitless, as far as I remember, like I think you said it was Connor and some of the others that were managing the streams for some of the European regionals, I believe.
Yeah. So we're all from Europe, of course, and in Europe we uh at that point we didn't have streams at all. Like I think at one point in the first season, TPCI did official streams for like 2 or 3 tournaments, but they stopped afterwards, and we had just no streams. So they would just ask the tournament organizers if we could like stream those tournaments. At the beginning, the streams were like very basic, not good. It was just like a webcam and one person doing commentary for the whole tournament. It was it was not comparable to streams these days, but it was still something like people could watch tournaments, which was cool. And yeah, like it just got more professional over time with um, like I was not really involved in the streaming part. It was like mostly it was in the beginning was David, there was Lydia did a lot of work, and she's still involved in that. And then eventually Connor joined us, and then he also did a lot of the streams. And yeah, it was it was a bit of an up and down with the streams. But then eventually last season, Pokemon, the KBCI started to just directly support the stream, so they got a lot better. And then this season, like just TBCI started doing the streams officially again. So um, the Limitless TCG stream project is kind of done. Yes, if you look at it like that, but there's still Lydia and Connor who did the main work with to get all the past tournament streams are still now involved in the official stream. So basically, the our streams got absorbed by the official stream, which is like the best case scenario, pretty much.
Yeah, I love that because I mean you think about like, it seems to me like there's like a theme where like you and the team at Limitless, I know it's not all just you, obviously, but like the team at Limitless, the people that you're involved with are like they're seeing something, especially in a European market, which is a lot of players, but in many ways was like overlooked for whatever reason by TPCI. Whether that was capturing deck lists or doing streams, and just collectively you were like, well, we have enough people that have some expertise here. Why don't we do the streams? Because people want to watch it. You and your friends would like to have watched streams, so it's like, yeah, let's do it. And I think it's amazing that TPCI then came in, worked with you, and then officially absorbed you. It's like, there's only one person that can stream the event, so like, your job is done almost. It's like, okay, good, we got official streams back to Europe.
Yeah, really happy about that.
Yeah, which I mean, for myself, I'm sure Jake would say the same. We're very appreciative of the European streams because I will say that the European player base and the decks, there is a lot of differences to at least America, right? I think particularly Control is tends to be a lot more popular, I find, in Europe than it is in America. Partly that's because of Sander, right?
Yeah.
But like,
We have Sander and Alessandro, so
yes, you have some very good Control, some very good stall players and whatnot. But I think it's really useful for the American audience and other regions to like be exposed to that and to see the different styles of play played at a high level. So I always am like really interested in like the differences between like American regionals and European regionals. But yeah, outside of that, I guess before I move on to the last big piece, which is played out limitless, right? I guess my question is, you decided to do all of this. I'm sure most people would say like, other than like, oh, you wanted it, why? Like, how did you keep the lights on knowing that this is a big job? Was like, how did people support you during this window of time?
um, well, in the beginning, the first like 2 years, I think it was just really just for fun. But then once it got bigger and also like some put more time and it was also like more expensive to host and everything, I also started put ads on the side, which like make me money, of course. So um, yeah, I mean, just the sites and doing the work, of course, just brings in money. So yeah, that's that's
Yeah,
always a good motivation. And I mean, I still really like doing it, and it's like an awesome job to have if you can call it a job, right? But
I mean,
just
yeah, it's
yeah,
enough work to be a job.
it, I still put in like decent amounts of work in, and so yeah, I usually like say it's like a half-time job.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it wasn't making any money, it would probably be hard to justify doing it continuously. But since it does, it's like fine, and I don't really see myself stopping doing it unless like for some reason it becomes obsolete for some like. But yeah, as long as the Pokemon TCG exists and everything, and people visit the site, I plan to like, continue doing it. Yeah, for sure.
So that I guess brings me to the last, I think, really big aspect. I'm not trying to upplay it or downplay it, but Play Limitless, which is sort of its own entity now in a lot of ways. Do you want to give folks, at home, just a description of what Play Limitless is and sort of how it came to be?
Um, yeah, the reason it exists is basically the COVID pandemic. It's yeah, that's the only reason I see. Yeah, at the beginning of COVID, when of course all the tournaments were cancelled, um, then yeah, there were like no tournaments anymore, and there were like a few like smaller online tournaments, but really, yeah, there wasn't really much going on in the Pokemon scene for like a moment, and then that's when we as Limitless thought we should like organize some bigger online tournaments, and we did the first Limitless online series. That was in was it 2020, 2021 or so?
I think
I
2020.
don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was really cool. There was like 4 tournaments which were huge, like bigger than we expected. There was over, I think the last one had like 1,500 players, which was crazy. Um, yeah, but and, uh, and we ran these tournaments on a site called SmashGG, like now, but now it's called StartGG. Um, and yeah, that was all like good and everything, but um, while running the site, it was like pretty clear that it's just not really made for like these kinds of tournaments with the for Swiss tournaments with so with the Dectus. We actually had help from Arcanines themselves for
Mm.
the Dectus submission, which was like awesome. But also like combining the Arcanine Dectus submission with the Smash GG was just a lot more work than what I felt this all should be. And yeah, that's why after the series ended and yeah, there was like no end in sight for the COVID pandemic and like tournaments coming back. So just we wanted to run more tournaments, but it was just like inconvenient on to run them on. It was not like super inconvenient, but it's just it could be better. You know?
Yeah.
um, and that's and also because there was like the COVID pandemic, I had like time on my hands basically. So that's why I just decided to try to make my own tournament platform, which is like just optimized for this one use case of specifically tournaments we want to run, and to just make that as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, then yeah, at the beginning the site was like quite basic. Was didn't have as many features as it has nowadays, but yeah, it was basically just made to run like the one kind of online tournaments. And yeah, then with that, I ran another online series, which was done in 2021. It was a lot of tournaments, like I don't know, 30 something, with an invitational at the end again. And yeah, that was pretty smooth. And then over time, other people also started using the site, because for Pokemon online tournaments was just like was everything you needed built in basically. Just copy paste your decks from PTCGO, paste it in, and then yeah, just made it easy to have like open decklist tournaments, because that was also a thing which was new for online, and which was kind of complicated to make work otherwise. Um, yeah, so at the beginning it was like uh just it was like another tool to just help me run some online tournaments, and then yeah, it just got bigger over time. Um, then eventually I also added other support for other games than Pokemon. Um, like the first was Digimon, which you were also involved in.
Yep.
And yeah, by now I also uh, there were also some official organizers like reaching out, and for like Digimon and then also One Piece, who wanted to use the site for their actual official tournaments, which is like so really cool. And yeah, now we also have like even like some like Digimon, One Piece regionals on there, and even though we have Pokemon League Cups and everything back, there's still online Pokemon scene, which I think is really cool. Is like then I wasn't really sure if like once the pandemic ends, what's gonna happen with the site. Are we still gonna run online tournaments? But um, yeah, people still still do. People still play in them, so that's cool. So yeah, the site just yeah was started as like just a fun little COVID project, I guess. But now it's yeah, I think pretty useful for a lot of people, which yeah, is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with all of that. It's very useful. Yeah, the seeing the evolution of Limitless from, to your point, like when it started, it was an MVP, right? It was just the Pokemon trading card game, and I think I want to say at first even it was very limited in the number of organizers that you were letting in to like run events because I'm sure a combination of like working out bugs and other things, but also server space, volume, all that stuff. But yeah, I had the same thought though of like when cups and challenges came back, um, would the Pokemon community like continue doing online events or not? Like that's a big, people. There's a lot of cups, a lot of challenges that people go to. So would they have time even? But it seems like between the late night events and others, there's still a very healthy amount of online events happening through Limitless.
Yeah, definitely seems that way. And yeah, like this year, for example, I think actually most of the development work I did was just like the tournament website. It's like it's also with the tournament side, it's I think I got a really interesting project also for me because there's just always new stuff you can add, new things you can support. It's just it's almost like you have like infinite work with that. Whereas with like the regular limitless side, I still do add some new features, some optimizations every now and then, but um, it's like much more complete and limited in its scope than the tournament website.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite features about it is the meta analysis features. So, for any of the events that are like on Limitless, just being able to go through and quantify like, oh, like, this deck when especially when I did Digimon, you could like see oh, this deck did really, really well. And what was its best matchups? What was its worst matchups? And it was the kind of data that you know, at least for some games, I don't know. I think for Pokemon too, honestly, you would have people constantly talk about, oh, well, this is the best deck or this is the best deck, and it was usually just based on like, oh, what won or what made top four. But it was a lot of, I think, either guesswork on people as to like, oh, what matchups are good or bad. But when you have all of this data now, because it's being collected in this like large tournament platform, like all of a sudden you can actually see, whoa, wow, it has like a 65% win rate against that deck. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have even thought of that. And I think it's done a lot also to like bring metagaming in some ways to like another level of like people really understanding like, analytics when it comes to evaluating decks and evaluating a meta.
Yeah, that's it's a feature I really prioritized since the beginning. I think like a week before then I first did like any public tournament on the site. I just had like deck to submission and I had deck to submission, but I didn't have the automatic deck categorization and the meta breakdown. I was like, nah, that's like such an important feature. I should definitely take another week, put that in before I launch this. And yeah, because yeah, I think it's really cool to just see the meta breakdown literally the moment the tournament starts. Don't have to go through all the lists to collect it manually. Um, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of Played Out Limitless. I guess my question would be, and you may not be able to say this, so I'm getting into maybe information you're not allowed to reveal, but has Pokemon ever approached you to talk about Play Limitless, either, using some of the tech that you've developed or because I know that a lot of organizers have mixed feelings about Tom, which is the at least I don't know how it is in Europe. I assume it's the same, but like whatever Pokemon's event management system is, um, I mean, I don't personally interact with Tom, but I know that a number of judges have mixed feelings one way or the other. But I don't know if you can reveal anything, Robin. But I
But no,
I had to ask.
they didn't. No,
Oh,
there's nothing. But I mean, for regionals and up, we have Arcanine, which does a good job,
it's
right?
true.
So I don't
Yeah.
think we have the need for a different. I think they still use Tom under the hood, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they are like working with Arcanine on some other solution. Like, but I have no information on that, no idea.
No, it's fine.
Um,
For me, like my brain just wants it all to be on one platform, like where I could like search like, oh, for every single cup this in this format and challenge even. Like what was everybody playing? Like that would be in my mind, that would be a kind of an amazing thing to like have it all in one database because then you can compare like, Jake and I talk a lot about, oh, for a regional, this is a good deck to bring, but maybe for a cup or a challenge, maybe a deck that is more streamlined, like I don't know, Maridon, is better in a challenge, or Chen Pao. If you just run hot for 4 games, it's great for a challenge, right? Um, but that's all
but for,
speculation. We don't actually have that data to say.
yeah, but for a cup and challenge, the best play is usually whatever deck beats like the best players that are at the tournament.
Yeah, that's
Because
that's
usually
fair.
usually at the cup you have like I don't know like 5 or so players that you know you need to beat to win the tournament, and uh, yeah, if you know what they're playing, just pick a deck that counters that. That's the play. Um,
That's
but yeah, it would
awesome.
definitely be cool, and I hope Pokemon works on some uh to bring like to do some online platform as well for like, cups and challenges. I know they worked on the PEM thing, but that
Yep.
turned out to be nothing. I don't know how they messed that up that badly, but
Because
well,
yeah, like they had Tom as the tournament organizer software that they used, but yeah, then they changed over to PEM, which is Pokemon Event Manager, I believe. And yeah, they just sort of disappeared halfway through COVID.
yeah, but
Um,
it means that they are working on something, right?
yes.
If they uh, and but yeah, I think most other games do have some kind of online system also with like I think it would be good if we could just report our match results online. But
Mm.
I think it actually even is a feature on Arcana. I think it was used for team challenges, but I don't know. We don't use it for regionals. It's kind of weird. Um,
I wonder if
but
it's
yeah,
just that they want it to go through the judges, like for like double confirmation rather than players submitting, like just having it like, okay, one source of submission.
I don't know. I feel like if the players just submitted this, it has a lower error rate than
Judges.
I played in a regional last year, and one of my results was entered incorrectly by the Hive, and then they also didn't fix it in the round after and was caused some weird pairings. Whereas if the players can just report it themselves, you see the result of your like, and if you entered wrong, it's like your fault. And
Yeah.
but you literally see if what your opponent. So if your opponent reported it, not you, you can still double check it
Yeah.
immediately on your like Arcanine page or whatever. It's
Like the
that would be preferable, I think.
yeah, the only time
But
the
yeah,
organizer needs to get involved is if both players don't input the same result.
yeah. So anything that's official tournaments, that's just like all Arcanine, and I think that's fine. Like Arcanine
Yeah.
is an awesome website. So I hope Pokemon just like gives them more money, makes them do more
Yeah.
stuff, and yeah, Limitless just like does the unofficial stuff.
Well, I think like, I wanted to like I guess leave this with I was just thinking about like are there any what do you think are features or things that the Pokemon community, you know, could still do or build or whatever? Like what are some of the gaps that you see in the broader Pokemon community that maybe the official Pokemon team is not currently doing? That's a very big question. But I'm like, yeah, is there anything you would either love somebody to build or love Pokemon to build that doesn't exist?
I mean, the obvious answer, of course, is and some simulator. It's of course the Pokemon Company has Pokemon TCG Live, but there's always like fan-made simulators can always do more than official ones. Official ones always like um I mean life is fine. It's still kind of buggy, so I hope they work that out at least. But with an unofficial simulator, you can do a lot of crazy stuff that would just like that are not realistic in an official one. And I think our communities, um, most our card games have some, at least the bigger card games have some
Yeah.
unofficial simulators, which of course is legally complicated. So it makes sense that no one attempted doing that. I guess we have Twin Leaf, but I don't know when or that will launch, if or how that will launch. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a very like the obvious answer that I think most people would want, just having an alternative to PTCGL. But at least we do have the official one, which
Mhm.
I guess like the Bandai games, for example, would love to have something like PTCGL. So
I can
um,
yeah, the Bandai player base is they've toyed around with not even really simulators. I don't know if you remember the for Bandai they did one where it was like you had a little sprite and you walked around a room and you would find another human controlling a sprite, like a little character, and then it would launch you into a webcam interface. And I was like, this isn't, nobody wants this. It's not a simulator. It's basically just bad Discord. It's Discord with like a weird layer over it.
they even have online regionals, but just no online client. That's so weird.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it is strange too, because like, you think about, I mean, this gets deep into it. Like, I don't mind webcam tournaments in some respects, but like if it's official tournaments, there's just so much cheating that happens in online clients, like over webcam. And even if, 95% of the people are like totally chill and fine, if a few people are good at cheating and their opponent is not paying attention constantly, it's much harder to see that in like a webcam thing. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised they haven't developed something.
Yeah, not a fan of the webcam events either.
Yeah.
Like I really like playing in some One Piece offline tournaments every now and then, but the online events I'm just like not interested at all.
Yeah. But yeah, like in terms of the simulators, I know Lorcana, there is a simulator for that people really like. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but even before the game was out, when they were announcing cards, the whole simulator was built and it worked. And I was like, that's kind
Yeah,
of incredible.
yeah, I think it's just one person doing it as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, you're right. I mean, it is definitely murky legal territory, because like you're using all of these copyrighted assets, and
yeah,
um, but
and yeah, with there being an official one, yours it just makes it even more complicated than if there wasn't. And so,
yeah.
um,
But especially for
but
like, retro or even expanded, which I don't, PTCG Live doesn't do expanded yet, does it?
yeah, they do not support expanded, and that also means you can't play GLC, which was quite popular on PTCGO, but
Yep.
now I mean people still play it, I think, but I think the GLC hype died down a lot after PTCGO got discontinued, which is a bit of a shame. Um, yeah, it would be really cool if we had a way to play older formats, um, like expanded and everything online. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's great that we can play standard pretty easily, but it is definitely sad that that older formats just got left behind in the transition to PCGL.
All right. Last question for you before we go. Expanded or GLC? If Pokemon was going to make one of them an officially supported format again, which would you choose, expanded or GLC?
It's a tough question because I did enjoy both, and I also haven't played either in a while. But I think I would have to go with expanded. GLC is, I think it's probably just best as a casual format. Not sure how it would end up as a competitive format if we actually played it at regionals. I don't know. It would probably be fun at first, but I don't know. It might get. I'm not sure. I think expanded is just. I really always like the idea of expanded, just having a really big card pool. Of course, they have to probably maintain a bigger band list because cards from different eras just interacting with each other is sometimes weird.
Yeah. Scoop Up Net and
But
Shaman and all of that never
yeah,
meant to exist together.
definitely not. But I really like having a format with a big card pool.
Yeah.
So yeah, my pick would be expanded, but I also wouldn't mind having maybe like 1 or 2 GLC regionals a year. I think that could be fun to shake it up a little bit, especially maybe towards the end of like a standard format cycle. Um,
Yeah. Like during this 5 month window that we have one
yeah.
format, like,
Maybe just
one
have like
regional.
one GLC regional thing.
Yeah.
That that could be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they did that, this is my opinion to sign off. If they ever get back into expanded or GLC, I urge TPCI to do a reprint set. Magic does them, other Yu-Gi-Oh does them. Just when you bring it back, expanded, do a reprint set so that ace spec cards don't cost $50 and are super warped. That's my
Yeah,
only
yeah,
hope.
for sure. The ace backs and Tropical Beach, especially,
Oh
it's
gosh.
Beach should probably just be banned. The, if they don't want to reprint it, they should just ban it because it's just,
Yeah,
yeah, it's having. I don't even know how much it's worth these
it's
days, but it's
$300
probably
or something. Yeah,
it's
it's crazy. And it's like, oh, I have to play four of them. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so expensive.
like
Uh,
yeah, even if it's not the most competitive, even if it's not like in tier 1 decks, it really shouldn't be a thing that some decks are just gate capped by the price.
yeah. So I'm fingers crossed that they make a trainer's toolkit for expanded one day. I think that would be amazing. But I will. I'll leave it there and end the episode. Anything you'd like to sign off with, Robin? Anywhere people should look to find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at limitless_Robin. You can also follow the Limitless TCG account, just at Limitless TCG. I should probably post more often on there, but uh, yeah, I don't know. Usually,
Yeah.
whenever I just upload anything new, I don't know, just put it on the site and then I don't know, posting on social media and everything. It's like so. I don't usually do it, but yeah, if there's important updates or anything, you can find it there or on my personal Twitter account. Yeah.
Yeah. And for all the viewers out there, if you want to find out, what decks we're going to be talking about after any big event, before we get there, you could just go to limitlesstcg.com and you'll already know what half of our episode would be. So yeah, thank you, Robin, for all the work that yourself, that the team does at Limitless. It's amazing. It's a huge resource for myself and Jake and for the community. So much appreciated. And then we'll sign it off. See you next week as we discuss more things that revolve around the evolving meta. I don't know how to sign this off. Jake, come back next week.